Bitcoin's almost 65,000. This is not the valuation that was bandied about, the $100 billion valuation, but still pretty good. Who's helping whom? Is the Coinbase listing juicing Bitcoin, or is Bitcoin juicing the Coinbase listing, or both?
Let's step back and let's not miss the big picture, right? This is like the Netscape moment for the cryptocurrency economy, right? Remember Netscape in 1995, 4 years before we had this crazy frenzy, basically signaled the beginning of the internet age. This is a really important day for the whole crypto world, right? This is saying this is an asset class, and it's an asset class that's here to stay. And so, listen, it's somewhat irrelevant where Coinbase trades today. Right. There's people that have been long it that I'm sure at one point will want to take profits. But mostly institutions are going to come flooding into this space. And we're seeing it every day. We're seeing it in Bitcoin. And we're going to see it in the public equity markets. Coinbase is the first big marquee equity that mutual funds are going to be able to say, hey, I can make my statement in crypto this way. And so I just think you don't want to miss, by looking at the small technicals of what happens today, kind of the magnitude of the moment.
Well, if there were some private trades that went off at much higher numbers, what you just think that it's more prudent just to bring it here or to have 65 billion? Because that's not 100. It's like 50% from 100.
Let's see where it settles in when it starts trading. Like, you know, those private markets were pretty small and there weren't a lot of liquidity. And so listen, I remember in 2013, I was begging Fred Ursham to let me invest at an 80 million valuation. And it was the great fish that got away because they ended up picking Union Square Ventures and Andreessen. And you know, now if it's 65 or 100 billion, it's been a spectacular ride for the investors and for Brian and his team. I think there is going to be a lot of demand from institutional equity market investors for a stock like Coinbase.
We had a long discussion earlier about that I'm willing, 2.5% to buy a Bitcoin with a huge spread versus setting up my own whole deal and figuring it out. It's worth it, but that's not going to stay like that. There's just no way. It's going to be driven down to like everything at some point. Wouldn't you think? And so what's the growth look like?
The amount of talent coming into this space, the amount of competition coming into this space is going to drive prices, right? But don't forget the amount of innovation. Like Coinbase isn't a fintech company, right? It's a crypto ecosystem company. And none of us really understand how big the TAM of that ecosystem is, right? All of a sudden, out of nowhere comes NFTs, which is going to be a huge part of the crypto economy. And so I think right now, total crypto wealth is roughly $2 trillion. So that's 0.5% of all wealth. If you don't think in the next 2 to 3 years that can be 2 to 3%, you're not paying attention to the trends. And so the amount of growth that we're going to see in our space is staggering. We're just getting started. And what's important is institutions now realize this is an asset class. It wasn't an asset class 8 months ago. I was hoping it would be. I was praying it would be. I was trying to convince people it would be. But now it's an asset class. And every single participant we talk to is getting involved.